The Connection Show. Inspiring. Hope. Health. Healing. Sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our page. Share it. Subscribe to it now and click the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from Missouri is Gayla Prewitt. Welcome to the show, Gayla.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like the audience to know a little bit about you, so I'm going to shorten your bio and just read a little bit about who you are. So Gayla is an award-winning screenwriter and holds a graduate certificate in screenwriting from UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. Her screenplays have been placed as official selections in the Scriptapalooza, that's a big word, competition, the Faith in Film International Festival, and the Branson International Film Festival and International Christian Film Festival and Music Festival. In addition, Gayla's received an honorable mention in 2017 in the Christian Film Festival for her Seed Police screenplay. So that's a little bit about her. I have her full bio that I'll show on the screen. So Gayla, what we love to do on the Connection Show, we love to inspire hope, health, and healing in the world. And we truly believe that when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he loved to share stories, accounts, and parables for the purpose of when the audience or the people listening to him, their lives would be transformed when they looked at that story and saw the similarities in it to their own life instead of the differences. So with that, would you be willing to share and be vulnerable with the audience, the good, the bad, and the ugly of whatever you've gone through in your personal life from your growing up years to today, of how your life has been transformed? So can you take us back to little Gayla growing up?
Oh my, wasn't prepared for that. So, well, I grew up in the country and I have 4 siblings, and I always joke that we're kind of like all only children with siblings because we're many years apart. So my older brother is 6 years older than me, and then I have a little sister 10 years later. I didn't have her, my mother did. And then my littlest brother was born 6 years after that. So I was 16 when he was born. So I did a lot of playing by myself. We lived in the country. I did have one friend. I mean, obviously I went to school, but in the summer I played a lot by myself. I had one friend that lived about 3 miles maybe from me. And so I think that's where some of my imagination came from. I like to play different roles, and I would play different parts. And so I liked storytelling that way when I was a little girl. And so I think it kind of just morphed into more storytelling when I got older, which the first screenplay I wrote was actually inspired by my children. They had some pretty severe health issues, some scares, and I had already been researching some issues about health because of our daughter, some learning and behavior issues she had had. And so I also used to be a news reporter a long time ago. So I like to research. I like to get to the bottom of what's going on. And I had found some answers for her health issues. And then our sons, when they came along, they got really sick. And so that inspired me to do some more research and dig even deeper. And then later, that's when I decided to write Seed Police.
And are you comfortable sharing what their illnesses were with the audience, or is that too personal? Okay.
No, that's fine. Our daughter actually, that's when I discovered the Feingold Diet. She had, like I said, some learning and behavior issues. She was tested for the gifted program, and I have her permission to share. She's grown now. It's okay with her too. But she was tested for the gifted program in kindergarten, and then by first grade, she was really struggling. Couldn't. They wanted to put her in remedial reading. Her handwriting was atrocious. And so I had a friend. I worked at the SVU library at the time in Southwest Baptist in Bolivar. And she said, "Do you know about the Feingold Diet?" And I said, "Never heard of that." So
What's it called?
it's Feingold, Feingold.
Okay.
And it was developed by a pediatric allergist in the 60s. And so we went to in the library in the stacks, there was this handbook. And I opened it up and it was just, oh my goodness, this is my daughter. And some of it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, they're two different people. She had some physical things going on with her too. But we started the Feingold Diet. And what it basically does, it was a long time ago. So it's very, very basic. It's kind of the first step. And it eliminates some of the preservatives like BHA, BHT, all the artificial colors, all the artificial preservatives. And I didn't realize at the time that those are developed from petroleum products. And I researched it on the FDA website. That can't be true. We're surely not eating things. So all the FD&C, you see those on the packages, those are made from petroleum. And so we started on that journey with her. And some of the things she had problems with for years, in 2 weeks, they were gone.
Wow.
Her reading, yes. Her reading and her other things took a little bit longer. By third grade, this was in first grade when we started it, she was, she won a handwriting award for one thing. And by fifth grade, I think her reading level was on the college level. So
wow.
It just messed with her. And a lot of children, it does that. So it's a really good organization. I was a volunteer presenter for a long time. Would go to conferences with school teachers, and they seemed very interested in that. So, but when our boys came along, we did the Feingold Diet with them all through birth and on. And so we didn't have any issues. They're doing really well. Well, the two oldest boys, when they were 3 and 1.5, we had our third son, which was, he was a baby, obviously, we just had him. And he was sleeping better than the 1.5 and 3-year-old. And I'm like, something is going on here. And even if you would kind of try to lay with him, and they just couldn't sleep. They toss and turn. So we took them to a specialist in Kansas City. He was an MD, and he was an environmental specialist, which I had never heard of before. But I just thought, well, they have allergies. And so, which they did. But he wanted to do some hair analysis, which I had never heard of. And so I'm like, fine, it's not going to hurt them. Well, the results came back. And at the time, the oldest was 3 and the other was 1.5 years. And the 3-year-old, his arsenic levels tested off the chart. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And the doctor's like, oh, this can't be right. This can't be right. And our other son wasn't much better. And so he talked to the company that did the testing, and they're like, yes, it's right, because you could look at their good minerals, and they were displaced. They weren't correct. And so when we started working on that and getting their minerals balanced and everything, that's when they started sleeping.
Wow.
But yes, I mean, this is scary. These are my babies, and it was very scary. So
did they figure out where the arsenic was coming from?
Well, my background, I start doing research. And so I start looking up arsenic. We had our well tested. We didn't have any arsenic in that. But I type it in. And at that time, the EPA had just started. They had asked for the CCA treated lumber to be voluntarily recalled. And that's what everybody built their decks from, their picnic tables. I didn't know what CCA stood for, but it's cadmium copper arsenate, and it's not the good cadmium. And so we had our field tested as a sample, so a comparative sample. And then we had under our deck tested, and it was so much higher, the arsenic. We didn't really have any just trace amounts in the soil, because it does naturally occur in the world, but it was so high under the deck, so it was leaching out of that deck. And they didn't play on there very much. It wasn't like they played on there at
But
all.
it probably still would leak through when it rained. And
And just their hands going down,
yep.
touching, going down. And the doctor explained, their systems are small, and they do not detoxify like an adult. So they accumulate.
And I'm glad you said that because I used to be a director of sales at hotel properties and your general manager. And speaking of that, like they're a child's body, I never knew this, Gayla. When you go to a hotel and they have jacuzzis, and the sign says that kids under 16 shouldn't go in it, but parents always have them in. So one time I asked the fire marshal when he had to come in and do an inspection of the hotel every year and, the fire alarms, I said, why is it that kids can't be in a jacuzzi? And he said because their skin on their bodies hasn't thickened enough. And it's very thin. Children's skin is very thin. And because of it, the heat of the jacuzzis, that heat temperature can burn all the way through their skin and burn their organs, and you don't even know that their organs are being burnt. And so, and it's so weird. Whenever now I go somewhere and I see little kids in a jacuzzi, I sit there and go, should I say something? And sometimes I do, and the parents just don't want to listen. They're like, oh, they're okay. And I'm like, oh, they're fine. You're just burning their organs, but they're okay. And it's amazing because the parent just thinks, oh, but the jacuzzi's so much warmer and the kids warm up and blah, blah, blah. But the fire marshal said even 5 minutes is dangerous for children.
Well, and see, I think I'm kind of going to get on my soapbox here, but we're kind of, keeping in an information war. And most parents, if they heard that from that guy, I think they would do it.
But not for me.
No, because they think, who are you, or signage. If they would further explain, this is why, the people don't have the information. I didn't know the food I was going to the store could be causing my child to have behavior and learning problems. I mean, it's just, I went and bought food. I tried to eat healthy, I thought, but I didn't know there were things like that. And you still don't hear that. Like the Feingold organization, that's been around since the 60s, and most people still are not even aware of it, nor, I think the dyes and stuff are getting out there a little more. People are hearing more about it, but still a lot of people don't know that. And
it's strange because that we're on the kids. The two other take homes that I learned too, Gayla, that parents need to hear this stuff is when my son was going in, I think he was starting first grade. His first grade teacher would say, you have to spend more time with him reading. He's not able to read right. And I was like, he's really smart. I can't. So I mentioned it to a friend, and she said, take him to Dr. Margolis in Arlington Heights, Illinois, who's an expert with muscle imbalance to the eyes. So I went and tested him because he tested 20/20 for the typical eye exam. But when I took him there, it turned out he had a very bad muscle imbalance and his eyes weren't tracking. So they had to do muscle therapy, vision therapy with him for about a year. And what was happening when he was reading across the lines would drop because his muscles weren't. So he would use his finger and he couldn't keep up with it. Soon as he did vision therapy, he read like a charm. But who would have known that? And then the other take home I got is when he was 2, he kept getting continual ear infections, like every 8 to 10 weeks, and antibiotics. So they wanted to put tubes in his ears. Again, the same girl who had told me about the vision said, take him to Dr. Paul Dunn, who's no longer in business, but who's a world-renowned pediatrician osteopath. So I did, and he wanted to know what my childbirth was like. And so he explained that when kids come through the birth canal, that when they come through, especially with forceps, the little cranial bone in the back of their neck could just be lodged. It just moved over just to here. And if it is, the cranial bone connects with your digestion and your stationary tubes. So he and it was simple. He just did simple stuff like this, and he aligned the cranial bone on 3 to 4 visits. We went back, and the ear, nose, and throat doctor said, I don't know if I believe it, but he doesn't need tubes in his ears, and his ear infections went away. And so if people have kids with ear infections or colicky babies,
Yeah.
it's usually the cranial bone.
And I had colicky babies, all of mine were.
And that's the cranial bone that's off.
Well, see, and there's so many things out there that we just don't like that. I've not even heard a lot of that. So I feel like, yes, there needs to be more research and alternatives presented to parents, then this is just the only way. And I'm all for more or less intervention and trying to find a root and help the child as trying to do all these other things. Because as we know, a lot of times it's just treating symptoms and it doesn't get rid of the problem. And then sometimes medicines and stuff just lead to more medicines. And because, yeah, we did the antibiotic thing over and over and over again. And then by the time I took them, that's what we have to do something different. And so,
so are they all fine now?
yes. Our oldest, she's 31. She's doing great. And then our sons are 23. He's married, graduated from college. And then he'll be 22 soon, our middle one. And he graduated. And then our youngest is still in college. So yes, they're all doing well. But it was quite the journey. And that's when I started looking into more things that were going on, because like I said before, I thought you go to the store, it's safe, this is America, people are looking out for you. And I started researching and genetically modified food. And this has probably been like 12, 13, maybe 14 years ago. And I started researching that and really felt like that's something that people need to be more aware of. They need to have more choice of. It needs to be labeled. We don't know what it's going to do. And obviously it just keeps progressing and it's gone beyond even our food now. So that's what led me to write Seed Police. I thought about doing a documentary because of my news background, but there's already so many good ones out there. I thought, well, maybe a fictional story that kind of takes it a little further would engage people. And so they would want to research more if they either read the story or hopefully soon someday watch the film. I originally wrote it as a screenplay, but then I put it in as a short novel so people could get to.
So it is a screenplay too?
Yes, it was a screenplay first.
Okay, and then a novel.
Yes.
Well, that's great. So I understand that you're going to be coming to Branson, Missouri, April 21st to 23rd to the Branson Film Festival. So I'm going to show the audience right now the flyer of the film festival. And it says that it's going to be held at the Copeland Theater at the Meadows in Branson, Missouri, off of Gretna Road. And you can get tickets right now at the BransonFilmFestival.com website. And make sure you get tickets because there's only about, I think, 450 tickets left. It's going to go fast. And then we have also on the screen Gayla's bio and her website, which is GaylaPrewitt.com, so that you can get in touch with her. So share with us, what is going to be your personal role at the film festival, Gayla? Will you be presenting your screen film or anything there yourself, or just attending?
I'm going to volunteer.
Volunteer,
so
okay.
Peggy, whatever Peggy needs. I think I might be doing some of the interviews. I'm not sure yet, but maybe some of the red carpet interviews. And I will have a booth there with my books. But yeah, I'm mostly just volunteering and trying to help out. I think it's going to be a great event. I know Kevin and Sam Sorbo are going to be there, and I think that's going to be real exciting. I've been to the festival. I didn't get to come last year, but it's such a great place to connect with other people that are, in the film industry, whether you're actor, producer, and it's big enough but small enough that you actually get to talk with people and learn more. So I think it's a really great experience.
Awesome. Well, I'll be there as well. And so we wanted to just give everybody just a little bit of a taste of some people who will be there so you can put a face to them and connect with them. And so please get your tickets now. There is one really cool ticket. It's the VIP ticket for only $150, and that gives you access to all 3 days, but you also get to do the meet and greets with Kevin and Sam Sorbo. And if you want part of that package, you can decide if you'd like to bring a monologue and try out for the actor's voice to see if you might be able to get in and win a place to have free acting classes. So it's a really cool price range. If you can't afford the $150 though, don't hold back, because there's $50 price ranges for 3 days access to attend the event, but not get the actor's voice and not do the personal meet and greet with Kevin and Sam. So for only $50, you could still attend if you live in Branson, or not Branson, but Missouri, I think, and 1 or 2 other states. So go on the website today to bransonfilmfestival.com and register now. And is there anything in closing, Gayla, that you'd like to share? Anything else with the audience of, writing, telling a little bit about more of how you got into the screenwriting, or producing? Anything more you want to share on your own personal side?
Well, I did have something exciting happen a few months ago. I'm also developing a Sanctity of Life thriller. And if people want to go on my website, we have a proof of concept trailer for it. It's a little more developed than my Sea Police one. But Dr. Alveda King has agreed to do a cameo in that film. And so I've gotten to meet her. She's a big pro-life advocate. She is the niece, if you're not familiar, with Dr. Martin Luther King. And she's on Fox. She's a Fox contributor. I think she has a show called Alveda's House. But I've gotten to meet with her and talk with her a couple of times. And so I'm really excited about that.
And you're starting that project now?
Yes, it's in development. It's also a screenplay and a short novel, and I will have that novel also. And if anybody's interested in donating, I do have a fiscal sponsor, so donations can qualify for tax deduction. So that's really a good thing. And all that information is on my website. So
well, we'll definitely talk. I have 3 people in mind for you that would be perfect for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's just been such a privilege to get to know you personally. And I look forward to giving you a big old Christian hug at the event.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in real life.
In real life. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. So please go to the website today, bransonfilmfestival.com, and get your tickets. Thanks so much, Gayla, for joining in with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye now.
Goodbye.